Hello, everybody, and welcome to the finale, episode 10 of Com.unity by Mode Canada Rocks. In this week's episode, we are talking about what it means to be Canadian, what we stand for, how we express ourselves to the world, and why it matters now more than ever. I am joined by the icon, legendary Jeannie Becker, one of Canada's most influential fashion journalists, broadcasters, and authors. Best known as the host and creator of fashion television, which aired in more than 130 countries over 27 years, she has helped shape the way Canadians understand fashion, culture, and creativity on the global stage. An officer of the Order of Canada, best-selling author, and recipient of numerous honors, including a star on Canada's Walk of Fame, Jeannie continues to champion Canadian talent through her writing, broadcasting, and public speaking. Next, we have Tyler and Karen Ferguson. Tyler Ferguson is the founder and creative director of Monoxide, a Toronto-based jewelry brand that blends storytelling, craftsmanship, and cultural identity. What began with the repair of a single broken piece of jewelry evolved into a thriving Canadian brand recognized for its thoughtful designs and authentic voice. Karen Ferguson is a retail entrepreneur and advocate for Canadian fashion, whose work has helped countless independent designers bring their brands to market. As the owner of Toronto Designers Market, which is soon to become Wilkes & Bowens, she has created a vital platform connecting Canadian talent with consumers in one of the country's premier shopping destinations. Through her commitment to mentorship, retail excellence, and community building, Karen has become an influential force in nurturing the next generation of Canadian fashion businesses. And last but certainly not least, we are also joined by Chantal Kreviazek, a celebrated Canadian singer-songwriter, humanitarian, and cultural ambassador whose work has left an indelible mark on music both at home and abroad. A three-time Juno Award winner and sought-after singer, she has collaborated with some of the world's biggest artists while continuing to build an acclaimed solo career. Through her advocacy, philanthropy, and commitment to storytelling, Chantal exemplifies the power of Canadian artists to create meaningful impact on the global stage. This conversation will explore how we can celebrate the power of culture, connection, and change together. We, of course, also have a community giveaway, and it wouldn't be the last episode without us really going all out. So if you leave a thoughtful question or comment within the first 15 minutes of the live, and you stay until the very end, not only will you get $250 to Toronto Designers Market, but you'll also get $250 for Monoxide jewelry. These will be able to be redeemed in store, and we will let you know all about that at the end of the episode when we choose our winner. But I'll flex that I'm wearing Monoxide now, so just in case anyone wants to get an idea of what that they can get with that $250. And I believe we are ready to bring our guests on. Very excited. Awesome. Hello.
Hi.
Everyone, the gang's all here. What a beautiful, inspiring, exciting, somewhat nerve-wracking group of amazing people to wrap this up with. How are you all doing today?
I'm better now that I figured out how to get on here. Oh my gosh, I feel old. Like, not
Don't
good.
worry. Don't worry. We're happy you're here. Fashionably late. It's listen, but always
no,
on
am I late? Did I miss anything?
No, you're right on time.
Right on time.
Right on.
The joke is fashionably late, but always on time because no one is late. You could never be late, Chantal.
You know what I'm going to tell you? I'm going to say that I have never been late for one of my own shows. I've always arrived at the piano and I've always been on time. It's the other things where sometimes, it can be a little bit different.
It's okay. No, and of course we're just happy to have all of you here. This is such a great lineup. Jeannie, I'm going to start with you. And again, I will say a million times that I am so humbled to have you on the show, spending your time with us this evening. You are such a legend and you've championed Canadian fashion and culture for decades. You've written many books. You continue to be such a respected voice. And of course, you're doing Project Runway Canada Season 2 coming soon. I'm curious what keeps you excited about fashion, culture in general, but specifically Canadian fashion, where we've been and where we're heading.
That's a big question because where we've been and where we're heading, I have to be honest, I wish we were a lot further ahead because I think where we were when I first started covering the fashion scene with fashion television in 1985. I think there, in some ways, we were further ahead than we are now
Mm.
with Canadian fashion. I really think there were a lot more designers building successful brands for themselves. I That is not to say that there aren't a lot of really talented creative designers out there today, but very few have managed to keep their ship afloat. It's a really tough business anywhere in the world, especially in Canada. We have a very, very limited market here. We don't have the big bucks for marketing the way they do stateside. We've lost a lot of incredible talent who, leave our country because they they really want a bigger kind of life for themselves. Perhaps they want to make more money, they want to sell more stuff, and it's totally understandable. So for me, I stick with it because I absolutely adore this country. I'm passionate about this country. I'm the child of immigrants who came here with absolutely nothing, and allowed my sister and me to really realize our dreams. Because in this country, you can do that. But on the other hand, this country has its limitations when it comes to certain things. And, I just want to be out there trying to encourage the next generation of design talent and the next generation of dreamers and doers. It's a tough one though, because I
Yeah.
think sadly, we should have been further ahead than we are when it comes to the fashion scene.
Absolutely. But when you see that spark in those younger people, and I am thinking about the previous season of Project Runway Canada, where I knew quite a few people on it, and I know you're gearing up for season 2. What gets you excited about these fresh minds, these fresh faces? Or, some of those people had, like, I'm thinking of, Charles Liu, who's got quite a number of years under his belt, but he's still in Canada. He's still fighting to make it work here. And he hasn't, caught that leaving to be bigger somewhere else bug. What do you get excited about when you're meeting these fresh faces and these fresh sewers?
Oh, I'm just excited by their talent, by their tenacity, by their passion, by a lot of them have incredible technical proficiency. Like, wow, this past season will certainly, what we saw from people like Charles and Leland, who was the sort of came out on top. There's some incredible talent out there, and that excites me. But I just get excited by people who have creative vision. I mean, that's always, and not just in fashion. I've, covered the arts for many, many years, started in the, on the music scene. And anyone with that kind of creative vision, anyone who's a great storyteller really gets high marks in my books. And I think there are a lot of great storytellers in this country. That's one thing that we do really, really well as Canadians.
Yes, we do get storytelling right. Speaking of storytelling and storytelling through her music, Chantal, you are such, as well, we have such, like I said, a roster of amazing people today, but you are an iconic talent. You are loved by so many. And you've written and performed not only for yourself with such beautiful songs and such beautiful sound, but you've collaborated with so many amazing people. I'm curious, are there any collaborations or moments or pieces that you've done that you're so excited exist in the world and are heard by so many people?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think it, but for example, just because I'm such a family person, when sports happen in our house and we're watching, I don't know, an NBA finals game, and all of a sudden, feel this moment comes on, and I'm like, oh, they're using it's like an anthem for winning, which is kind of
Yes.
funny. I don't really think of myself as a flashy, like, winner type at all. But there it is. It's this song that has been used, just year over year. It's the go-to song. I'm constantly licensing it for all these sort of like competitive, high stakes moments in the world. And just as a mom, I think that if that's one thing that I can encourage women, who are trying to break a glass ceiling, or who are trying to achieve excellence in their passion or in something that is driving them. I think it's so good to bring it home and to really motivate oneself by thinking about like, man, I want to show my children what is possible. I want to inspire my kids and I want them, I want their friends coming over and going, oh my gosh, is that your mom? And, that, believe it or not, is just something that has been powerful for me and keeping me young and keeping me curious about like, what are people needing? What story do they need me to tell them about myself? Or, Carpe Diem is something that I've always been very passionate about. I was bugging my kids. I'm very into, Marcus Aurelius and the philosophers, the Greek philosophers. And so I'm always pulling from, like the one I was really digging into today. My kids were like, okay, mom, enough is the one, you must remember you will die. And I know that sounds so dark, but it's not, because what it means is that one day you will cease to be here. And so when it's tiring and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't get ahead. But I see this vision and I just, you got to keep going. I'm so driven by the fact that as far as I know, I will cease to be here. And I love this idea more and more and more of like leaving a legacy and being able to say, yes, I am like, I'm a girl from Manitoba. I'm a prairie girl. I'm a humble Canadian person, soul. And I love that part of us. But you know what, at some point, I think it's also wonderful. You can look to other cultures where that's not what they're doing. They're confidently coming out and they're saying, you know what, hell yeah, I wrote, Drake, one of Drake's most iconic songs over my dead body. And, I love talking to people about that. Or, hey, I'm one of the only people who's written a Drake and a Kendrick. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These themselves become my stories now. And so
Yes.
it's not, my life is now becoming my story. So I don't know. I want to encourage people that, you keep going and just don't look up for a while. And then one day you look up and you know what, you kept going and you have your excellence just speaks for itself and you can start to celebrate, all those things. So I have a lot of moments and songs that tell that story now, whether it's, was Christina Aguilera going to show up at the studio? Because if she didn't show up to sing Feel This Moment, it was going to be my voice on the song.
Right.
And I remember going, oh my God, I am not meant to be on a Pitbull song. So I was like, please, Jesus and God and Buddha, everybody, can you please get Christina Aguilera over to the studio at all costs? And she came and she sang the poop out of it and it was incredible. And every single song that I've written for somebody else has an incredible story to it, because I was so passionate about whether it was Britney Spears and chasing a song that I knew was her song. I knew If I'm Dancing would be an iconic Britney Spears song that would have a lasting, reverberation in her legacy and in her career. And sure enough, people love that song. And it was because I had a vision, like I need Britney Spears' voice on that song. And then, I was friends with her then fiance, and I got the courage. One day I was like, I can't hold this any longer. I know you are going to sing this song really well. Would you mind listening to it? And she was in the studio the next day. So, Canadians are brave. And I am one of those people. And, you just gotta try. Just keep trying.
That's amazing. So much inspiration already. We're only a few minutes into the episode, and I feel like I've absorbed and I'm learning so much. But speaking of legacy, and of course, Chantal, you already have an amazing legacy, but I wanted to touch on speaking about sports. When you sang the national anthem at the Four Nations Face-Off, and you did change the lyrics of our anthem to indicate that we would not be bought by our neighbors down south. And I just wanted to briefly touch on, of course, we're in a time where we are feeling, I think, extra patriotic. And I'm curious why it mattered to you and why it was important to you to step into that moment and do something about what was going on.
Well, I think that we can all hang our hat on the fact that Canada is now known for being the most educated country in the world. And more, I appreciate so much that part of my upbringing in this great country. And I did have a good education, and it taught me about borders and countries and nations and treaties and what those things mean. And especially as somebody who is a very proud, supporter of the motherland, Ukraine, And we're watching what's happening there when somebody wants to encroach on a border. Sovereignty is touchy. Like, don't play with it, because in my career, I was very, very privileged to be invited to take a deep dive into, war, and go to visit war zones with War Child. I've been going into the field with Dr. Sam Nutt for over 27 years. And what I learned there was that when we see people and we call them refugees and immigrants, people are looking for something better. They're trying to come to Canada to have a better life. It doesn't mean that they wanted to leave their home or leave their culture. Nobody wants to not be with their family anymore, or the language, their mother tongue, their foods, their ways of life. People want to keep their culture going. And I think it's almost like a guttural, it's a very primal thing almost, that, as soon as somebody messes with you, you're like, whoa, 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 no, bro, that's not happening, And it was about 45 minutes before the time to go out on the ice. And I had this idea because somebody passed me they passed you the lyric, because the lyrics are always changing to the Canadian anthem. It used to be, "Oh Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons' commands."
Yeah.
And it had changed. It had changed to "in all of us command." And I mean, that's nice, but I was like, no, not right now. Right now it's "in only us command." And it just dawned on me. And I just, once it came to me like that, I thought, oh yeah, that train has left the station. I am meant to say that right now. And I'm really, really glad I did. It just upset so many people, which is awesome. And, you want to pick your spots. I remember right after it happened, I could write a book about it, because the NHL wanted to sue me or not pay me, and all this stuff was going on. And I had 11, publicists and crisis management people and lawyers on my phone. And I was like, what is happening? Nobody wanted me to talk to the press. I was invited to be on every single press outlet in all of North America and beyond. I was on the cover of every single paper, not necessarily my face or me singing it, but my name or anthem singing. It was a huge story around the world. And people wanted to talk to me about it. I was invited on the Midas Touch. It's the biggest podcast in the world for 15 minutes. I was invited on MSNBC, CNN, everybody. And in the end, I just said, you know what? No, I said what I said. I'm sticking my landing like a good gymnast. And I meant it. And that's it. I don't need you to judge whether you like me or what I'm going to say about it. And music has the power to do that. Not unlike fashion. You can just wear a thing that says, you can have a tiny little spot on it, and it gets people having a conversation. It doesn't mean they have to agree with you, but music and fashion and film, they just have so much impact on the eyes and on the ears and guiding people. I always say that the art guides the eye, it guides the ear. And even if you don't think my lines are perfect, I'm still guiding your eye. I'm still guiding your ear. And that's powerful. So I was really, really, really scared that I was going to, I don't know, crumble inside or something, because I had upset so many people. But it didn't take me long to realize that I'm still here. I'm fine. Keep making music, keep doing my thing. And this too shall pass, and hopefully it created a good opportunity for people to say, hey, yeah, how come no one else is saying that out loud? Like, I don't hear enough people saying it out loud. And I'm glad I was one of them.
Okay, you should be very proud of that. I think, like, courageous moment, because it's stuck and resonated with so many people, and I'm seeing that our audience is chiming in and is very happy that you did that as well. So, Chantal, kudos.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate that, because let me tell you, bots swarm.
Yep.
The bots swarm, and
They do.
The idea that the idea of the bots is that they it's like a bullying effect, right? They swarm you, and it's to make you feel small, and it's to make you feel like you made a mistake or you shouldn't do that. It's by design. So when people have, I've walked into rooms and, like, all of a sudden people are like clapping. I'm like, what did I do? And they're like, oh my God, you did that thing. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, you like that? That's great. I love knowing. I love people letting me know that it was patriotic and that it meant something to them. It means so much to me. So thank you.
course, 100% did. Now, speaking of patriotic, or I would say arguably one of the most patriotic brands I'm aware of is Karen's Toronto Designers Market. Karen, you've been an expert at recognizing outstanding new Canadian fashion talent. And I'm curious how you came to know the brands that you've been representing over at TDM, which is located in the whole Renfrew Center, and why like that location and what makes the vision so notable.
I think we have found brands through research. It's like research and research and research. And we read articles, we watch shows, we do a number of different things, and also referrals, like referrals from existing designers that are in the store, from customers that come into our store and say, hey, you know what? We would love to see this. Have you ever heard about this brand? And industry professionals who say to us, hey, I had the opportunity to meet this brand. Maybe you should take a look at it. And that's a lot of how we find our designers. But also, we have designers coming to us and saying, hey, I heard about your brand, or somebody referred your store, your boutique to us, and we'd like to know a little bit more about what you do. And once they come into the store, they understand that it is so much more than a retail space. We provide resources, education. You know, we try as much as we can to expose our designers to the Canadian fashion scene as a whole. And so that's how we find a lot of our designers. Why we chose Yorkville? It was a lot of it was by chance. We had come out of COVID, and we tried a lot of different areas in the city because we really didn't know what we wanted to do. We started on Queen West at the old Parkdale Hall, and that was an amazing space for us for 5 years. And once we came out of COVID, that space no longer existed as a possibility for us. So we began doing pop-ups in different areas of the city. And then we landed in Yorkville, actually because of Tyler. And she was doing a lot of research with different areas, and we came and we saw the space, and we knew immediately that this was the space for us. And at the time, we didn't even know if we could afford the space or what that looked like, but we began speaking to them, and we were able to finally come to an agreement and secure this space for the Toronto Designers Market. And I think you asked me why this is such a good space, why it's such a notable space.
Yeah, and what makes the vision of Toronto Designers Market, soon to be rebranded, so notable?
I think what makes the vision so notable is because there is no other space like this. There's nobody else across Canada doing what we do. We are taking designers right from the beginning, right through, teaching them how to retail their brand. Because a lot of the times they'll do a runway or they will launch a collection online, but then after they don't know what to do. And we are here to help them through the process of retailing. We will show them everything from start to finish, how to merchandise, how to tag. You should consider when pricing your garments, are you ready for wholesale or all of it? So we are a training ground for them to really test their brand and decide if it's gonna work. Like Jeannie said, we should have been way farther ahead as Canadians in the fashion industry for all that's come before. But for whatever reason, whether it's that Canadians don't understand Canadian fashion, or that they are just feeling that we don't have as much talent as maybe Europe or America, for whatever reason, there is an issue around that. So we have been really, really working to overcome that.
Awesome. And then speaking of sort of, I think, learning moments, you're also rebranding. And so I would love for you to tell our audience what they can expect of Wilton Bowens, and also a little bit about why.
Okay. Actually, it's so funny that Chantal mentioned the whole idea of legacy, because part of why we decided to rebrand was because of legacy. And we realized that we wanted to leave something significant behind. And Wilkes and Bowens are my parents' last name. Wilkes is my mother's last name, and Bowens is my father's last name. So for us, there's a lot of there's a foundation in that. A lot of what I know about fashion, what I know about design, what I know about understanding fashion as a way to express yourself comes from my mom. And so that kind of was the start of us wanting to do something new. And also, we always felt that the name Market in our Toronto designers market, yes, it very much explained what we did, but not so much who we are. And with this rebranding, we want to tell the story of who we are, why it's important to leave a legacy of Canadian design and Canadian fashion behind, and how that legacy can grow. Chantal mentioned the idea of memento mori. You too will die, right? We don't live forever, but what we leave behind is so important. What we build and what we showcase is so important. Yeah. So that's why.
Awesome. Thank you. And I did want to add, Tyler, I was thinking about you and Karen, because when Chantal mentioned kids coming over and being like, that's your mom, in case people think that you're sisters, this is a mother-daughter duo. And so I imagine so many people came to your house to see Tyler and were like, your mom's so cool. And I'm wondering if that had any inspiration behind the brand Monoxide, since you have such a fashionable mom. What has inspired you, and what has been some of your jewelry process with Monoxide?
Because I have such a fashionable mom. Yeah, no. A lot of my friends came over and they were like, "Is that your mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that's my mom." No, but I mean, outside of that, I think in terms of inspiring my designs and my brand as a whole, I was fortunate enough that at the time my mom was in the fashion. Well, she's always been in the fashion industry, but she was specifically working in jewelry. So I feel like I was like almost subconsciously indoctrinated without even realizing it, because I would be looking at all the stones and seeing all the designs, and but when you're young you're not really paying attention to that, as kids always are. And then fast forward a couple years later, when I decided I was going to try to fix a piece of jewelry by myself. I have no idea what possessed me to do that, by the way, but I literally was like, I can fix this. I can definitely fix this piece of jewelry. And honestly, once I did that, the wheels were off, and fast forward 14 years later. But I do feel I got a little bit of training from being with my mom and being in the fashion industry, even if I wasn't technically in it in the beginning.
Amazing. And I will flex, even if I don't know, I think that this is a positive that you made this set in what, like 2 days? So imagine what you can do with lots of time.
Yeah, that's kind of my design process is a little bit chaotic. So once the muses kind of speak to me, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm gonna design. I have it in my head. I'm in the studio making it. So usually there's not a lot of planning in terms of like overall. I just get inspired and I'm like, I'm gonna make everything that comes into my mind now. So the 2 days was perfect for me anyway.
We love someone who can work under pressure. And thank you, Tyler, by the way.
No
Chantal,
worries. I love the question.
I wanted to ask you, we know that Canadians are often labeled as nice, but Chantal, I would say you go above and beyond, and you did mention your work with War Child. I'm curious why it was important for you to use your platform to uplift these causes and to support other people.
Well, I'm going to just fall back right into the gift of the education that I feel that we get. And I certainly feel privileged to have had growing up in Manitoba. I went to just a wonderful school, and there was such values instilled in me, and they reflected what was going on at home. My father was always so generous, and with my fathers and mothers, with what they had is, he was an entrepreneur, and he came from a farm community, and he was the first one of only the 12 kids that moved to the city, seeking a better life, and not a better life, but trying to build something, a different legacy than the Ukrainian farming thing. And anyway, as he developed his business, I used to work on Saturdays at my dad's office and answer the phones and so on. And there would always be people coming in. Someone would come from the Canadian, Cancer Society or the Heart Society. Everybody was coming. Can I speak to John? Can I speak? And I was okay. Hang on. And I'd ask my dad. They're here from the Canadian Cancer Society, and oh yeah, send them up. They'd always leave with a check. And I don't know that he always had a lot, but they always left with something. And he shared. And I think the beautiful thing about, kind of combining that value with some of the education that I got that made me just I love learning. I absolutely love learning. And, sometimes it's hard. Like I've heard a saying I love, which is like growing hurts and learning hurts. And it's true. You're expanded. It's like your muscles, when you first do an exercise, that hurt. But sometimes we're frightened to jump in, and I don't judge other people for not wanting to necessarily, jump in the mess. But I love it because, whether I'm there, I'm not there, I'm learning or I'm not there, it's happening. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know about it. And I guess, sometimes when I'm with Sammy and we're in the field visiting a program that she and her team have set up, I feel hopeless myself. Like I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? Nobody knows. No one's coming. Help is not in the way. And she'll just say, you know what? People's story, they feel like someone hears them right now because somebody's not coming, And so I feel like when I first started my career, this thing came back to me that I was raised with, this curiosity, this value of service and of sharing, of caring about other people's story. And it was so interesting to me because as soon as I had a single at the radio, my manager, I was just a kid. I was 22 years old, 21, 22. And she would say, oh, we've received a request. And it would be from some, random NGO or people that were just trying. We're waking up every day and helping other people. And that blew my mind. I have been able to sit with people who are, struggling with rare diseases. I've been with, I've been on neuro NICU wards and held precious babies that are experiencing a 1 in a billion disease. I've been with people I can't even tell you the most precious moments, and I think of them as sacred, and so I think that as you start to serve on any level, and it doesn't have to be the money, and it doesn't have to be, people don't have to see, but when you serve and you show up with courage, what happens is it keeps serving you and you keep coming back because you're learning so much. It's beyond meditative to me. It's beyond any kind of church. You feel so connected to this experience. And again, to me, it's a gift that Canada offered me from being somebody who came from hardworking Ukrainian background, mixed with, Indigenous on my maternal side. This combination of people they're just phenomenal. They're humble, they work hard. And then this education that we get in Canada, how can you not know? You can't unknow, you can't unsee. And I think service is what comes of that. And I really value service.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. So it's so touching. Jeannie, as I've mentioned, of course, you have traveled the world, and I would say as a Canadian ambassador in these fashion spaces and through this amazing career that you've had. And as I mentioned previously, we are in this very heightened, passionately patriotic moment. So I'm curious how the pride that you've always held, I'm sure, as being Canadian has evolved over the years, and how does it feel today in comparison to when you were, fighting your way to talk to all of these designers as this, proud Canadian girl?
The pride that I have in this country and pride that I have of being Canadian is just something that's in my DNA. It's just always been with me. As I mentioned, my parents were immigrants, Holocaust survivors. They came here absolutely penniless. Their entire families had been, decimated in the war. They arrived here in 1948 with nothing but a whole lot of tenacity and courage and many hopes and dreams. and they rose like phoenixes from the ashes, and they created this wonderful life for themselves and for me and my sister. And I was always aware that good things were happening to me because I was a Canadian. And I moved to New York when I was 19 years old because I thought, if I want to be an actress, because I started acting professionally at the age of 16, this is where I really have to go to New York to, learn how to do it. And after being there for a while, I thought, it was a pretty cool place for sure. But I guess I got homesick, and I just felt I didn't belong there as much as I felt I belonged in Canada. And the fact that I managed to cultivate this international career for myself, out of my own backyard, I mean, that is really something that I'm really proud of. And I guess it is possible to do it to a certain degree. You're never going to make the kind of money. You're never going to get the kind of, acclaim staying here in this country to a large degree. I mean, there have been very few artists, and I don't know, Chantal can probably attest to this too, just how tough it is when you decide that you want to make your home in Canada. I mean, it's really it's not an easy thing, but it's a definite choice. And I made that choice because I just love this country. I love everything that it stands for. And especially now more than ever, in terms of where the world's going. There's something about Canada that is kind. I mean, we're a gentler kind of society. And it's not to say that we don't have our share of problems. There's a lot of bad stuff going on at this particular point in time too, which is very upsetting. But that being said, of any country in the world, I just couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Raising my daughters here. My daughters are both staunch Canadians. They're very, very proud of being in this country and working on their careers here. One daughter, my daughter Joey is a singer-songwriter. She lives off grid in the Yukon. So that's really Canadian. My other daughter, animator, illustrator, lives on our family farm, like out in rural Ontario. This is just who we are. And I can't tell you that, the kind of emotion that I experience, just each and every day when I sit down and think about how incredibly lucky I am to be here in Canada, and how, I just can't, I never feel like, wanting to, I want to get out of this place and move to another country. I just never feel like that. I'm just like so happy to be here. Canada has so much to offer. We still, undergoing a lot of growing pains, but boy, oh boy, I just love this country. Like I always say, and my Order of Canada pin is my absolute best accessory. Very proud of that, and just very proud of the kind of class that I think Canada has. It just really is a very unique place, and the people here are just the best. So I'm a proud Canadian. I'm going to tell you maybe more so than ever, but it was something that was, in my heart as a young girl too.
Of course. Well, we're very happy to have you, the Canadian treasure. But Chantal, I wanted to offer you the opportunity to answer, because I noticed you nodding. And if you had any insight into what that choice has been like, being, like choosing Canada and making that choice that Jeannie was referencing.
Our story is a little weird. When I met my husband and fell in love with him, we were starting, it was literally the first day that I was shooting the video for my first single, the day that I met him. And I was introduced to him at a Pearl Jam concert at Maple Leaf Gardens. It was my first day in Toronto. I'd never been to Toronto before. I had been sent to Los Angeles to record my first album. A man listened to my song Surrounded from Sony and said, can I fly to your hometown with some people tomorrow and watch you perform and hear other songs you have? I said, sure. I picked them up at Winnipeg International Airport. It doesn't get more than this. And I took them over to this kind of hole in the wall studio where I'd been, working on recording some songs. And by the end of the day, I had a record deal and a publishing deal. And that song Surrounded, you know, I wrote it about mental illness. Somebody I loved had a very, very fierce turnaround with schizophrenia. And we lost him real fast from that. He went from just being the guy to being gone. And so that song wrote my life. And from it, I got a record deal and met my husband, and we got married and we had kids. And the song, you know, to me, the song it's the maker of so many things in my life. But meeting Rain was tough because he also was just starting, and he was recording his album Clumsy when I met him. And I remember, you know, a couple months later, you know, the album came out and my songs were on the radio and on Much Music and so on. And we would go outside. We were kids, and people were coming up to us, and we couldn't even go for dinner. I remember I would go for dinner with Rain, and he'd go to the bathroom, and the girls would swarm the table, and they would say, you know, do you think he'd talk to it? Do you think that he'd take his picture with us when he comes back? And I remember I did not adjust to let's call it fame. I did not adjust well. And I have friends who are like, the dad is not famous. Maybe he's the drummer, he's the producer, and the mom is, or the dad is and the mom isn't. It's very hard when it's both of you. And so we decided, let's move to Newfoundland, or let's move to the Caribbean. Let's move to Chester, Nova Scotia. We had all these places that we thought maybe we would go to escape and be alone and just get away from it. And so we ended up moving to a cabin on the beach and essentially just having a place to retreat to in California, way north of Los Angeles, so that when we were doing all this work, we would always have somewhere to go and have something that was ours. And we've been together 30 years, and we did make a good decision to do that. But we keep our Canadian residence as well. And I'm home all the time if I'm not traveling in Europe or off, you know, and doing something with wartime. I'm either at our little place in LA, or I'm in Toronto. And being Canadian is still kind of everything to me. I travel the world. I do have this little life elsewhere, I guess, but I just, further to what Jeannie said, when I go out in the world and I talk to people, they'll say to me, wow, your smile, where are you from? Or they'll talk to me and they'll say, wow, like, you know, that's amazing. You know about that stuff. Like, where are you from? And I tell them with such pride, you know, I am Canadian. And as soon as I say I am Canadian, it's like they go, oh, I get it. It's different. And that's not, again, further to what Jeannie said, it's not to poo-poo anyone who's not Canadian, because people are amazing everywhere and people can be asshats anywhere. I mean, you know, we have good people and bad people everywhere. And it doesn't mean that Canada's perfect, but there is something so special about being from Canada, being Canadian, and about Canada itself, that I just feel so much gratitude that this is where I am from, and that I am privileged to say that I have a home and a home base, and a welcome wagon, if you will, always there for me in Canada. I don't know how to describe it. It's incredible.
No, it's beautiful. And also shout out Chester, Nova Scotia. Being a New Brunswick girl, I actually know where that is.
You know what I'm saying, girl?
Yeah, so I was like, shout out. I feel like I could talk to all four of you all night, and I know we have to wrap, but Tyler, I did want to give you the final question. This is my gift to you. If you could put your designs on any Canadian or anyone in the world other than the two fabulous women on this call, who I'm sure you would love to put your jewels on, who would you choose and why?
I can't choose Jeannie? Okay. Well, I mean, or Chantal, I mean, honorable mention to both of you, I guess.
Right.
Anyone in the world, I think I would have to go with the actress Jodie Turner-Smith. I just feel like she exudes a very, like, her style is very personal, very rooted in her vision, her specific vision. But she's fearless, and her style is also constantly evolving, even though it is so rooted in her vision of who she is and who she wants to be and who she wants to present to the world. And I just think that there's something very important about style being able to evolve over and over again as you refine yourself, as you experience life, as you get older, things happen, just life happens to you. And I think that if you're able to stay rooted in that, that is the marker of true style. So for me, I think Jody is that.
Wow.
That's amazing. So I want to thank all four of you so much for your time. I do want to take one brief second as the host of this show, because we've done 10 episodes, to thank Hunmin and Stephanie and Len, who have been on our team, who've allowed me to host this and make this possible. I want to thank Toronto Designers Market, who has been dressing me for the majority of the episodes, and Onyx, who's been the stylist. This is completely off of the script, but I would not be able to get to do this work without this amazing, amazing team behind me.
You are beautiful.
I'm going to try not to cry. But
You
it's
are
been an honor,
beautiful.
to do this for 10 weeks. This is living my Jeannie Becker dream. So thank you all so much. But we also have a winner for the prize. So the one person receiving both the $250 to Monoxide and the $250 to Toronto Designers Market is Anjuni Art. She left an amazing question. She stayed until the very end, so we will reach out to you for details on how you can go to Toronto Designers Market to get those amazing prizes. And I feel like I'm just going to throw these cards because that's the end. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us for 10 you have. I'm like, that's a wrap.
Yay!
Woo! Yay! And congratulations to Anjuni Art. We look forward to seeing you in store. If she's
I'm
still
coming.
here. I don't know if she's still there.
I need to drop by.
Chantal's going to come and
Yes, come and visit us.
Both of you.
I-
You are invited.
Yep.
I'd love to. Please DM me, or I'm going to DM you. I want to make arrangements.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Perfect.
We have
all right,
snacks
we're going to
in the
wrap
back.
the live now. We're all going to connect after. Thank you all.
Okay, wait, do we stay on or can we
Stay on.
exit?
Stay.
Yeah,
Stop.
okay.
and
Bye,
stay.
ladies. Lovely to meet you.
Hi, Chantal. I didn't get a chance to do a personal shout out to Chantal. Nice to see you.
Bye.